Right, hello and welcome to the Ultimate Fan Fix, brought to you in association with Ultimate Fan and presented by Beer 52. Exclusive to Ultimate Fan subscribers, Beer 52 will be providing gold subscribers with a free case this month. So if you're a silver subscriber, why not pay that extra £2 a month to get your hands on yours? You must be 18 or over, T's and C's apply, and photo ID may be required. We're here to discuss the upcoming Premier League season with Ultimate Fan. There's £15,000 up for grabs ahead of game week 1. So make sure to confirm your starting 6 ahead of Friday's clash between Brentford and Arsenal. After England's success at Euro 2020 and the return of the Football League last week, the appetite is well and truly wet ahead of the return of the widely regarded best division of them all. Tom, we'll start with yourself. Obviously, a familiar face to Ultimate Fan players. You've probably talked this subject to death, but we will have to bring it back up to kickstart the proceedings. Jack Grealish obviously moving to Manchester City from Aston Villa for a British record fee, £100 million. I suppose it's undoubtedly the biggest talking point of this summer window so far. Personal feelings aside, what's your, what can you gauge that Manchester City fans can expect from Jack Grealish, and what can he add to their squad?
Well, Grealish is a unique player. There's not really sort of anyone in the Premier League that can sort of do what he does in the way he does it. He's not like traditional winger in the fact that he won't sort of beat a man with like skills and like trickery or anything like that. He'll sort of draw them in and shift the ball to one side last second. That's why he draws so many fouls. Last season, despite missing sort of a third of the season, he was still sort of up there with most chances created, the most sort of like progressive passes, entries into the opposition area, and I'm not sure whether we'll see that as much this season because City have still got Foden, De Bruyne. He won't. I can't see him getting as much of the ball because at Villa it was basically get the ball, pass to Jack Grealish, and see what he can do. But look, now he's surrounded by world-class players. I think he'll sort of step up a gear even more, and it'll be well for City fans. It'll be an exciting watch.
Yeah, obviously make sure to check out the Ultimate Fan Plus feed for all of Tom's content across the Premier League campaign. There's some really interesting statistics and facts there, obviously, to help you select your team. Reece, were you surprised that perhaps Grealish wasn't utilised as much? We saw obviously the impact he had in the Germany game. Obviously England won 2-0, but perhaps didn't feature as much as maybe would have been anticipated, particularly for a player that's just been sold for £100 million.
Oh yeah, without question. You look at the amount of interest the country had around him. Like he was considered the golden boy. Even the commentators were calling him that as well. But when you look at it, I think Southgate used him to absolute perfection. Now I'm not just saying that because I'm a blue nose and I absolutely despise Aston Villa. He was used in the way that benefited the side. Like that Germany game, hands up, he was the reason we won that game. He came on and completely changed the face of that game, and that will go down long in the memory. That 15 minutes he came on and made a massive difference. I think now that he plays for Man City, I think he will start more regularly. I think the problem is sometimes it is the clubs do have an issue. Like we've seen England players come in who play for mid-table sides in the Premier League that wouldn't normally start, but you've got players that who play for a top 6 side and do start. So I think now he's at City, I think he'll definitely get more of a starting role in the England squad.
Can I just say as well, I think looking at how he sort of played in the Euros, apart from that Germany game, he didn't have too much of an impact. But I think that is partly because he just didn't get the ball as much as he did when he was when he played for Villa. So I think that's something that will probably, especially in the first sort of few weeks of the season when he sort of getting used like his teammates. I think that's something we'll see again when he's at City.
Yeah, I think obviously it's going to be interesting. A lot of similar styled players, De Bruyne, Grealish, Foden, as you've alluded to. It'd be interesting to see how they're kind of used by Pep Guardiola, and I think is it Pep Roulette? It's often done. He's obviously not going to struggle with the number of players he's got to handle this season, that's for sure. Just moving away, perhaps from Manchester City and Aston Villa, Reece, a move that's maybe gone under the radar for you this season, a player that might surprise, a bit of a dark horse.
Yeah, I mean, there's been plenty of big money moves, but the one that stood out for me looking at this is Patson Daka from Salzburg to Leicester. So he went for 23 million. I think the fact that the amount of goals that he scored in the Austrian Bundesliga has been massively undermined. He stepped up when Haaland left, and last season alone he had 46 goal contributions in 42 games for Salzburg across all competitions. And he scored over 20 goals in the 2 seasons that he's been a starter for Salzburg. So, I think he's a player that might be underestimated. He was Austrian Bundesliga Player of the Year. He made his debut for Zambia at 16. He's only 22 years old, and Brendan Rodgers has already said that he will be the long-term replacement for Jamie Vardy. He scored against QPR in pre-season, so I know it's QPR and it's nothing competitive at this point, but he showed that he can get on the score sheet already in a Fox's shirt, so he could be of some interest. He runs off the back line, he's a natural finisher, he works hard, his speed is his advantage as well. I think he could be a really interesting player, and the fact he's only silver in the Ultimate Fan game makes him even more a little bit of a hidden gem.
Nice bit of insight there, Reece. Leicester, who of course beat Manchester City in the Community Shield at the weekend. Obviously, after that, amazing FA Cup victory, they opened their Premier League campaign with a Midlands derby against Wolves. Tom, just coming back to yourself, obviously Lionel Messi, I suppose the biggest news on a kind of an international basis, joining Paris Saint-Germain doesn't look, sadly, as though we'll see the GOAT in the Premier League anytime soon. Do you think moving forward, though, that perhaps opens the possibility of a Neymar or Kylian Mbappe coming to England?
I can't see Neymar moving from PSG anytime soon. I think he's happy there. He'll be on, God knows how much money. Mbappe. I think Mbappe has more bigger aspirations, but the only team I can see him going to is Madrid if they can afford him. Man City, I don't think he sort of fits in the Man City. I think they've got too many. They'd have to sell quite a few players. Liverpool, would they be able to afford him? Not sure. So anytime, so I can't see it anytime soon. But hopefully, I would love to see Mbappe in the Premier League for sure, though.
Yeah, Reece, if I offered you the opportunity to see either Messi in the Premier League or Ronaldo back in the Premier League, who would you say?
That's tough. I'd probably say Messi, because then we can end this argument of who's the best overseas and this, that, and the other. Because I was old enough to remember Ronaldo first time round in the Premier League, and that was something quite special. You could see the potential and the talent that he had in the United shirt. He went and proved it at Real Madrid. Then one of the best teams in the world. Messi, I think it's just that argument. You just want to see him play in the Premier League for that argument's sake. Messi's probably easily one of the best ever to play the game, but the only issue has ever been is can he do it in England, which is I've always found a big factor in the Messi Ronaldo argument. So I would happily have Messi in England, but I'd love to see Ronaldo back in the Premier League as well.
Yeah, I think it's remarkable, even after all these years, that they're still widely considered as far and ahead of anyone else, aren't they? It's the top two, and not to sound cringy and beat that social media drum, but we are very lucky to see, in my opinion, the two greatest players of all time playing in the same generation. And obviously looking forward to seeing how Messi fares in France. Let's talk teams then, lads. We'll move on to our ultimate fan sides for game week 1. Of course, as we alluded to earlier, getting underway this Friday. Take us on if you dare. £15,000 up for grabs. Reece, to begin with you, you've gone for Harry Kane up top with the golden boot. I should add as well. Obviously, get some more points in if he can bang in a goal or two. He contributed to 37 goals last season, 23 goals and 14 assists for Tottenham Hotspur. That was more than any other player in the division across the campaign. And of course, he also bagged 4 goals for England at Euro 2020. A no-brainer of a selection, but will we see him in a Spurs shirt for the entirety of the season? Do you expect? I mean, there's been no real word since he didn't turn up for training. He's obviously argued his side in a statement on Twitter. I mean, if you're a Tottenham, Hotspur fan, surely you want to see a player of this caliber play, regardless of the way that this situation's been tackled, because he probably is the best number 9 on the planet, isn't he?
Oh yeah, for I think last season he really did come into his own. So the fact that a lot of us remember obviously Kane for goals, but last year he came into a completely new style of play that changed up his game, and he looked one of the most threatening strikers going, because he just didn't score. He also found a way of helping other people score as well, and that's proven with the assists.
Yep.
I think the stubbornness of Daniel Levy will keep him at Spurs for another season. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, he's clearly thinking business mind of not letting his best asset go, and that's respected. But the way it's going about it, I mean, it's quite shameful when you look at it. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see him for at least another season in a Spurs shirt. But with the I like Nuno, but I don't think they're going to win anything with Nuno. So I don't think they'll hold on for him for much longer. If he keeps throwing his toys out the pram like he has the past couple of weeks, I really think they might struggle to hold him in January.
And then just moving across North London, you've got Arsenal as your ultimate fan side in your team. A silver card as well. I mean, who'd have thought all those years ago, the Invincible era, and that kind of fantastic Arsenal team in the mid to late 90s when Arsene Wenger first arrived, that in 2021 we would have been sat here scratching our heads wondering whether Arsenal will even make it in the top 8 of the Premier League. It's quite incredible, really. They kickstart their campaign with a tricky away side to new boys Brentford. What's your expectations for Mikel Arteta's side, Reece, this season? Doesn't really seem to have been many additions to the Emirates Stadium.
No, I mean, I think this season could be a surprise. I think they could surprise a few people. I mean, they finished 8th for the last 2 seasons running. I think the top 6 this time around, it is a fair target. They haven't got any European football, and I think it's the first time in nearly quarter of a century they haven't had any either. So there's really no excuses. The league has to be the main objective this season. They have to break into that top 6. I think there is improvement, though. They were second in the form table since Boxing Day. I think it was only Man City that were better than them. They won their last 5 league games, so there's definitely improvement there, and they seem to be getting into a bit more of a flow. The acquisition of Ben White is clearly one for the future as well. So, I think they could really surprise people. I wouldn't say they're going to be top 4, but they'll definitely be in the mix most of the season, I think.
Yeah, they tend to kind of start the season well. It's normally when the games ramp up, like you say, around that Boxing Day, New Year schedule, where they just get found out a little bit. But then I think they kind of just about salvage it, the latter part of the season, as you say, the second best side in the form table, only behind Manchester City, who of course won the league. Tom, Manchester City for you, unsurprisingly, a gold card up top there for yourself. Obviously, bookmaker favourites to defend their title for Pep Guardiola. How much did you read into their Community Shield defeat to Leicester? Do you really consider pre-season as a form line?
Pre-season friendly is definitely it's all about sort of fitness, getting the players match fit. It's all about shape and things like that. But you have to look at the team as well that they played. There's a couple of sort of 19, 18-year-olds leading the line. There's no Foden, De Bruyne, Stones, Sterling. But I do think they definitely need a striker. I think not that they won't struggle. Look, they'll still probably finish, points quite a few points clear ahead of anyone else. But I think if they did have that striker, then yeah, they'd sort of blow the league away. But also, it feels like there's not been that much time between the sort of Euros and the start of this season. I mean, well, even sort of the end of last season, and I think a lot of teams will struggle at this. Well, not that they'll struggle, but it'll be like a slow start because they've had cancelled friendlies, players won't have been around, like playing the Olympics or the Euros and things like that. So I think quite a few teams will sort of start slow and just sort of build their way into it. And like I say, City. I mean, City usually that anyway. They started so slow last season, but yeah, I think there's no need to look too much into pre-season friendlies or anything like that.
Yeah, you've obviously got more strong citizen representation there with Ruben Diaz in defence, Ilkay Gundogan, who's got your golden boot there. One who I'm a big fan of, and I can empathise with selection I have in my own side is Rafinha of Leeds United. He contributed a goal every other game for the Yorkshire men last season after signing from Rennes. Do you have second syndrome season fears for Leeds United, or do you think they've just got a bit too much class?
No, I mean Marcelo Bielsa is one of the best coaches in the world. Let's not sort of kid around. I mean, Villa and Leeds have had this like sort of faux rivalry for a while, but there's he is one of the best coaches in the world. He just sort of like brings sort of players' levels up, and brings the best out of them. You look at their squad, and on paper it's like upper championship, lower prem. But he's got them playing like some exciting football. And the only thing that I do worry about for them is they've not really added any players in this window. They've brought in Harrison on a permanent. They've got Junior Firpo from Barcelona. Whether he'll be a good addition is something we'll have to see. But I mean, they had a lot of injuries last year, and they still finished 10th. But how much longer can you sort of go with quite a thin squad and just relying on the youth players? So it will be interesting to see how they'll do this season. But I don't think they'll be involved in a relegation battle or anything like that.
No, I'd echo those thoughts. Exactly what I've gone for Rafinha up top myself. Although sadly I've been lumbered with Southampton. They lost 5 of their last 8 matches in the 2021 season. Reece, I'll come to you first. Do you think there's any sort of reason for Saints fans to be a bit concerned, especially given 12-goal hero from last season, Danny Ings, obviously signed for Aston Villa, a bit of a shock sign that went under the radar just a bit.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I mean, there was nothing on it, and then suddenly Villa announced it. That's how you like transfers to be. You hear absolutely nothing of it, and it comes out of absolutely nowhere. That's what you kind of like. But I think at the end of the day, I think at the age that Ings is, it was time to find someone who could step up to his shoes, and I think Shay Adams will fit that role perfectly. He does. Okay, it's took him a couple of years to get used to the standard of Premier League football, but when he came to Birmingham City and it took him a few seasons to get his feet on the ground, and then when we lost him, he scored. He was one of the top scorers in the division when he joined Southampton. So I think he'll find his feet now. Now that you look at it, he'll be the main man for Southampton. I think he'll find his feet, and he doesn't. He's good with the assist as well. I think he had like the second highest number of assists in the Southampton side last season in the league as well. So I think Shay Adams will fit that role perfectly.
One for the Saints fans there. Match predictions, lads. After covering our team, but we won't hesitate. We won't digress any further. Let's look ahead to the opening round of Premier League fixtures starting this Friday. Obviously, fantastic as well to see supporters back in the stadium, which I think just makes it all that more exciting. And then we'll do this just to conclude. We'll do a quick fire whip round of our previews for each of the weekend's Premier League action and an ultimate fan player to watch out for in each fixture. So we'll obviously start with the opening fixture. Brentford against Arsenal. Brentford, of course, who won the playoff final against Swansea 2-0 last season against Mikel Arteta's Arsenal, who we've mentioned earlier. Tom, I'll come to you first for a prediction and player to watch.
I'm going to go Arsenal win. They opened the last season with a win against Fulham, who obviously they were promoted via the playoffs as well. I don't think it'll be as easy as that game was. I could see Lacazette getting on the score sheet though. He's scored on the opening day in 3 of the last 4 Prem seasons, and he was their top goal scorer last season as well. So bit of a not the usual like Aubameyang. I'm going to go for Lacazette.
Lacazette. And so you fancy Arsenal? Think it'd be a tight one?
Look, Brentford are going to be playing nice football this season. It's just their sort of blueprint, isn't it? And Arsenal, I think that suits Arsenal a little bit better. I think Arsenal struggle more against the physical sides, like your Burnleys and things like that. But it'll sort of 1-0, 2-1 Arsenal.
If Sam Allardyce or Tony Pulis was in charge of Brentford, then there'd be probably more cause for concern for Gunners fans, wouldn't there? A cracking Saturday afternoon fixture to kickstart Saturday proceedings at 12:30. Sort of a Lancashire Battle of the Roses with Yorkshire. Manchester United taking on Leeds United at Old Trafford. Reese?
Yeah, I'm going to go with a draw here. Leeds had a really strong end to last season. I think Liverpool only picked up more points in the last 11 games than Leeds did. Bielsa likes to run teams out of the game. He's a very physical manager, and I think that will play to advantage. United obviously are going to go for a title challenge this season. I think it's realistic with the signings of Varane and Sancho. But I think the player to watch in this game is Bruno Fernandes. Obviously, he was only outscored by 2 players in the league, and only 1 player in the league got more assists than him as well. And in this fixture last year, he scored 2 and assisted 1. So he knows how to play against Leeds. So he's definitely the one to watch here.
Yeah, Bruno Fernandes, I think, was second with the number of goals last season and 3rd in assists, I think perhaps it was, or one of the other way around. So, yeah, of course, since he's signed for the Red Devils, he's well and truly sort of repaid that faith and that fortune both in hand. Burnley against Brighton and Hove Albion. I've been selected for this one. I think it'll be a fairly tight encounter. I think Brighton and Hove Albion will be happy just to be away from home. They had a sort of a rancid home record ever since football continued behind closed doors. But of course, they finished on a high. The Seagulls beating Manchester City. I think it was in the back end of the season in May. But of course, Burnley at Turf Moor's a tough place for anyone to go to. I think it's going to be 1-1. I'm going to go for a draw, a tight encounter, and I think both teams will just be happy to get off the mark. My place to watch is Lewis Dunk. He scored in this fixture, or in the reverse fixture, last season, and then obviously the other game between these two sides finished 0-0. So obviously some all-important clean sheet points there, potentially up for grabs for ultimate fan players. Chelsea against Crystal Palace. Tom, I'll come back to you.
I'm quite looking forward to this one. I'm intrigued to see how Palace are going to sort of fare under Vieira. They've done some really good business as well, bringing Elise in. I'm not sure how I pronounce it. Is it Guay or something like that? From Chelsea. Then you got Joachim Andersen as well. So they've done some good business, but I can't see anything other than a Chelsea win. Champions League winners a few months ago. I think they're going to start how they ended last season. So I'll go for a 2-0 Chelsea win. And my player to watch is Timo Werner. Well, last season he probably didn't have the season everyone was expecting him to. He only got 6 goals. Still got 12 assists though, which is good. But he massively underperformed on his expected goals. I think it was sort of something like 11.9 xG. And obviously, he only got 6 goals. So if he can sort his finishing out, the chances are there for him. And he is coming up against a centre-back partnership that haven't really played together. Because I'm guessing Gray and Anderson will be starting. So yeah, I can see him getting amongst the goals on Saturday. Is it? Yeah.
Saturday, yeah, London derby, as you say, and I think it'd be very interesting to see how Palace fare now without the capable hands of Roy Hodgson and sort of a bit of a running jump really with Patrick Vieira. It'd be intriguing to see how they fare if he's as half as good as manager in the Premier League as he was a player. I think Eagle fans are in for a good season, but we shall see. Everton against Southampton, Reece.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Everton on this one. I find it quite harsh that there's the scepticism for Benitez, especially for the fact that when you compare him to Ancelotti, they've both won the Champions League and they've both managed Real Madrid and Chelsea, so they've both got quite a high level of experience. But the partnership of Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin this season, I think, is going to be the key to their success. If they can both get them firing, I think that will be it, and that's why my player pick for this one will be Richarlison. He's scored in 4 in his last 6 Premier League fixtures against Southampton. He's obviously played in the Olympics. He's on a high because he's come home with a gold medal. And he's come straight back to training as well. He's not took a holiday. So, he's in flying form at the moment. Whether fatigue will kick in is another thing, but he's in flying form and he might be worth considering for this one.
Charleston for Reece. As we alluded to earlier, a Midlands derby, East against West. Leicester City, of course, who won the title back in 2016, taking on Wolverhampton Wanderers, who continue their Premier League progress without Nuno Espirito Santo, who, of course, joined Tottenham Hotspur. Again, I think a tight game. I think there's only been 1 goal in the last 4 fixtures between these two sides, the Foxes and Wolves. For that exact reason, I'm just going to give the edge to Leicester, who will be thriving after wins in the FA Cup and Community Shield of late. I expect them to get their Premier League season off to a flyer here at the King Power Stadium in front of their loyal fans. And my player to watch is Ricardo Pereira. I think he's one of the most underrated defenders, full stop, in the division, and he's certainly one of the best right backs. And I think, given the history of this fixture in recent meetings and given Leicester's solid back line, I think another clean sheet could be on the cards here for Leicester City. I had to come to you for this one, Tom. Watford, of course, back Vicarage Road, hosting Premier League action once again, and they welcome Aston Villa, your boys. How do you see this one going? And are you confident on the Villains' chances of sort of, at least getting into the top half this season?
I think top half would be very good. I think the owners definitely want top half with the money that they're spending. I know we've had 100 million from Grealish, but we've still spent 98 odd on the sort of 3 attacking players that we've brought in. Saturday's game is going to be an interesting one. How we'll play without Grealish will be intriguing, whether we'll be able to cope. I don't think Leon Bailey will be featuring too much because he's still quarantining, so he hasn't actually trained with Villa yet. Ollie Watkins took a knock on at the weekend. Buendia's been out for the past 2 weeks, so it's not looking, great. And when you take into account that it's Watford's first game back in the Premier League after being relegated a couple of seasons ago, with a full crowd, it's not going to be an easy game at all. But I am going to go for a draw. Player to watch, I'll give a quick shout out to Troy Deeney because he just loves to score against the Villa. Being a blue nose, he scored 6 goals from 4 games against Villa, which is ridiculous. So I can't see him starting, but if he comes on, then it's guaranteed. He's guaranteed a goal. But I'm going to go for Danny Ings, my player to watch. He's experienced enough to sort of hit the ground running. He scored 4 from his last 7 in the league last season. He scored on his debut in the friendly at the weekend. And he scored 3 from 7 against Watford, which isn't bad. But yeah, I'm hoping more than anything that he'll be on the score sheet.
Yeah, of course, it's a surprising move, as we said, to the second city, and not particularly one that anyone saw coming. I think he turned down a contract Obviously, that was offered to him by Southampton, didn't he? And the way they kind of tamely, finished the season, he obviously felt that his future lay elsewhere. And I think it's a very, very exciting signing for Villa fans, I have to say. Danny Ings is Tom's player to watch here. Reece, back to you. Again, the new boys who bounced back at the first time of asking. Norwich City taking on the previous season winners, Liverpool at Carrow Road.
Yeah, I think there's only one answer to this. I think this is all Liverpool's to be. They obviously faced each other 2 years ago when Norwich came back up, and Liverpool won 4-1 on that occasion. I think the return of Virgil van Dijk is going to be massive for Liverpool as well. But I think the key player to watch here is Salah. Now he set a new record as a Liverpool player for being the first player for the Reds to score in 4 consecutive opening day fixtures in the league for Liverpool, and he was the second to do it in the Premier League behind Teddy Sheringham. So he seems to always score on the opening day, and will he make it 5? I mean, against the Norwich side that doesn't look massively changed, it looks very likely.
Yeah, I think quite a kind fixture to open the season for Liverpool on paper, but of course we shall see. As Tom says, the presence of fans again can kind of give any team that extra lift. But of course, should be a fantastic game over in Norfolk. We'll come back down to me. I've got Newcastle United against West Ham United. So one stat that won't really read too well for Hammers fans is that in the last 4 fixtures between these two sides, Newcastle have scored a minimum of 2 goals in each game. So the sort of our counterparts on Tyneside will be quite excited and licking their lips at the idea of welcoming David Moyes' men to St James's Park this weekend. My player to watch might surprise you. It's Joe Linton. He only scored 4 goals last season, but 3 of those 4 arrived between game weeks 30 to 36. So if he can continue that same vein of form, and he scored in this fixture as well at the back end of last season when a game that Newcastle won 3-2. If he continues that same vein of form heading into the new season, he could potentially be one to side with. And to finish, probably the most exciting game on paper, Tom, we'll finish with yourself. Tottenham Hotspur against reigning champions Manchester City.
Yeah, as you said, it's going to be an exciting game. Well, hopefully it is anyway. I think it's likely going to be a City win. Nuno's first game in charge. He'll want to get off to a good start. But yeah, I can't see anything other than a City win. My player to watch, I was going to say Matt Doherty, because obviously he didn't really have a great season last season, but he was absolutely flying when he was at Wolves under Nuno. But I'm going to have to go with Kevin De Bruyne. He's just world class, isn't he? He only got 6 goals and 12 assists last season, which surprises me a little bit. But he did miss quite a bit for injury and things, didn't he? But he's like, when you look at his stats, he's up there among the best in the top percent, sort of chances created, progressive passes, progressive carries, expected goals, expected assists. So yeah, I can see him sort of playing a part in a goal or two this weekend. Yeah,
I think probably widely regarded as the best naturally gifted player in the Premier League, I would say. Yeah, but obviously superb Kevin De Bruyne. It probably doesn't need too many stats thrown the way of ourselves or Ultimate Fan players. I think if you pack him, he's going straight into your team, isn't he? If you pack him twice, then I think you're laughing. That's it, folks. That's the roundup, predictions, our teams, and a quick look over the summer transfer window. Obviously, this is the first episode. We're going to be covering Ultimate Fan and the Premier League season across the entire 38 games. Make sure to send your teams into our Twitter handle at Ultimate Fan UK and to tell all the players who you're siding with. No doubt we'll see you all soon, folks. Enjoy the opening weekend of the Premier League. Make sure to get playing Ultimate Fan, £15,000 up for grabs, and we'll see you all next week. Tom and Reece, thanks for your time.
Cheers.
Cheers.